Just when you thought the Acolyte was over, Leslye Headland just won't stop talking. Hello, I'm Marvin, and I'm the Movie Monster. We have finally exorcised the demon that is the Acolyte from our lives, but Harvey Weinstein's former personal assistant, Leslye Headland, is somehow doing more press for this show now than she was leading up to it. In her utter desperation to get a second season that no one with a functioning brain wants, Leslye has taken to the interview circuit to discuss her epic finale and to make sure we all understand a few key points. Please note I used epic sarcastically there. I forgot to do the air quotes. You see, apparently this show was all one big therapy session for Leslye, and she and her team of hacktivist cultural vandals went after one of their favorite targets in the modern world: fathers. Yes, the concept of fatherhood itself is apparently misogynistic now, and Leslye is here to tell little girls everywhere that the solution to this issue is to off their dads. And we're gonna hear all about it on Tooneytown TV. Okay, so here we are once more talking about the Acolyte. As loath as I am to do it, it remains news because Leslye Headland just keeps saying the stupidest things any human being has ever said. And this article comes to us from our friends over at That Park Place and our good friend, editor-in-chief John F. Trent. Showrunner Leslye Headland claims Osha killed Soul in the Acolyte because he was imposing, quote, benign sexism on her. Now, again, everything in the Acolyte has got to be about, identity politics and sexism and misogyny and all that other stuff. And one of their main targets for these virtue signalers in entertainment is fathers. We have seen the concept of paternal fatherhood just dragged through the mud in entertainment in the last couple of years. My goodness. And never was there more of a fallen father figure than Lee Jung-jae as Jedi Master Squid Games, Jedi Master Soul, who started off as a pretty interesting character and then just kind of devolved into a guy who became obsessive about a little girl that he spied on in the woods and then followed her home and broke into her house and, just a whole lot of nonsense. And it ended with Osha, played by Amanda Sameface, seen here making her same face, killing him with a force choke while Smilo Ren, Asian Ezra Miller, watches on in the background. Now, let's get into what Leslye Headland had to say about this. Now, we all saw it as what it was. It was just a stupid ending to a stupid show, and I think we all kind of moved on. But Leslye Headland, the showrunner of The Acolyte, explained that Osha killed Soul because of benign sexism in the final episode of the show. In the final episode, Soul confirms to May and Kamir that he killed Mother Anastasia. That's Mama. Yes. Osha overhears the conversation and then confronts him. However, Soul makes it clear that what he did was the right thing to do, and he did not inform the Jedi because he was trying to protect Osha, and she would have been sent away because she was too old to train and would have never been allowed to become a Jedi, I guess. He then goes on to tell her that he did everything because he loved her. However, the word love is cut off as Osha begins to use the Force to choke him. As he's being choked, Soul then tells her it's okay. Osha then kills him. So he gives her permission to kill him. It's really weird. So in an interview with Collider, which, is a friendly outlet, so of course Leslie's going to go there, Maggie Lovett asked Leslye Headland, what's so interesting about that moment where Osha kills Soul is how much is conveyed, even while he's choking on his words. Nothing is conveyed, folks. Nothing. It is a stupid scene that makes no sense in the middle of a stupid finale for a stupid show that made no sense. It's all just Leslye Headland airing out her family issues. Apparently she had issues with his sister, and that was what the whole May and Osha thing was. And I'm assuming she must hate her father, or maybe it's a stand-in for her former boss, Harvey Weinstein. And I mean, everything in this was a sexual innuendo. Everything had sex built into it. And that's just not me applying that. That comes from Leslye Headland's own mouth. And we will go into that in a future video because, man, that deserves its own video. I mean, she talks about inserting, the bathing suit pots of people. I'm trying to not get demonetized here. Just constantly, and it's insane. She says also, and maybe this was my impression of it, my first thought was he doesn't even give her the agency. That's one of those stupid hot button words that these virtue signalers love to slide around. Agency. He doesn't even give her the agency to make this choice herself because he's accepting his fate. It just adds so much more insult to injury. You can't even let her get a satisfactory kill because you're like, it's okay, it's so good. Only an absolutely like deranged mind would have that like, good lord, like that is such a weird take to have. Headland then responded, we also knew it was always going to be the betrayal of the father, and I knew we had to juxtapose Luke's forgiveness and Vader's redemption. We're like, this is a story about the Sith, so that's not gonna happen. First of all, this is not a story about the Sith. The only Sith that appears in this show is Darth Plagueis for that 1 second that he's on camera. Okay, Leslye unfortunately seems to conflate Dark Jedi with Sith. All right, to be a Sith, you had to actually be a member of the Sith Order, the Order of the Dark Lords of the Sith. That always meant you had a Darth in front of your name, because especially at this point in time, there were only 2 Sith in existence at any time, the Master and the Apprentice. That started with Darth Bane and continued with Darth Xanath, the Darth Cognus, and so on and so forth until it gets to Palpatine and Vader. All right, they're the last of the Banonite line. It's insane how this is just warped. And she keeps using the stupid word. She keeps saying Sith over and over again like she knows what it means. But guys, Star Wars saved my life. So like she totally understands, right? Absolute blockhead. She then confirmed Lovett's comment. You're absolutely right. There's this thing called benign sexism, and part of it is this parental protectionism. It seems like this good thing, but like you said, there's this I have to protect you from everything. I have to make sure you're okay. I have to tell you what track to get on, and then once you hop on that track, I need to support you. That's a good thing. Parental guidance is a good thing. It's insane to me how activists like Leslye Headland continuously try to just dehumanize parents, fathers in particular, to be like, oh, kids, you shouldn't listen to them, you should listen to me. And then she has this show where a grown man gets obsessed with a little girl and a grown woman flirts with a teenager. So, draw from that what you will, folks. But, then she says, ultimately what happens is, again, this is a father-daughter relationship. As women evolve in their lives and develop their own personalities separate from their fathers, at some point, they have to reject that protectionism. Okay, Leslye. First of all, as far as I can tell, I mean, at least from my own experiences, fathers are pretty protective of their sons too. So, you are clearly speaking from your own personal experiences. You clearly hate your father. Lord only knows what your childhood was like for you to turn out the way you turned out. But then you became, basically the acolyte of an absolute monster in Harvey Weinstein. But it's okay, Leslye. You didn't know. You were the only person in Hollywood that didn't know. She then continued, again, I'm so proud of it. Like, how are you proud of this? Okay. It's an abject failure. You lost 95% of the audience that tuned in for the Mandalorian season 2 finale was not present for this show. It's insane how few people watched it. She goes, I have so many favorite moments in the show. Good Lord, I could not name a moment in this show that's not just cringe-inducing. I have like 100. And like, yeah, I'm sure you do. I'm happy to go through all of them right now. Please, God, don't. One of my favorite moments is when he says, I did everything because I love. He's going to say, I love you. Oh, is he, Leslye? I thought he was going to say, I love peas and carrots. Of course, he's going to say, I love you. And not only is that a level of attachment that's an unbalanced Jedi would have, he's very clearly is losing it in that last half of the season. But that's also the justification for that kind of behavior between the father and the daughter. Okay, more about inappropriate relationships between fathers and daughters. What are you trying to tell us here, Leslye? The daughter has to surpass him in some way because he's a smelly male. I shouldn't say that, but so she cannot stay a little girl or an adolescent or young adult. She has to at some point say, I reject what you've told me I need to do to make you proud, to follow in your footsteps. She has to do that. Okay, not everyone rejects what their parents have told them, Leslye. Maybe you did, but not everybody does that. This is nothing more than her like live therapy session. It's insanity how she was allowed to do this with $180 million of Disney stockholder money. Headland continued, I do think when he says it's okay, I think you're right. He's imposing on her agency at that point. Oh, God forbid he's being choked to death, but God forbid her agency. But I do think it's in a weird way, she needed it. She needed his acceptance, not his approval, but his acceptance of his fate. I think it's what gives her that energy to do that final fist clench. She then appears to be confirming that the entire show is about her own personal experiences rather than any kind of universal experience between fathers and daughters. She actually affirmed this in the past in an interview with the New York Times. She stated, I have a very strained relationship with my youngest sister, and I feel like one of the reasons it's strained is that we both see each other as the bad guy. Yeah, this was your therapy session. Oh my God. If I was gonna tell a story about bad guys, it seemed to me the place to start should be a familiar relationship. Yeah, because your family relationship was terrible. Not everybody has that experience, Leslye. Believe it or not, some parents actually succeed and raise children that they're proud of. And sometimes, fathers and daughters get along. I know this is insane, right? It should be a familiar relationship where one person is adamantly convinced of her correctness and the other person is also adamantly convinced of her correctness. We don't speak. I think this will be a surprise to her. Yeah, I'm sure your sister is super thrilled that your dirty laundry has now been aired. And well, I guess she's probably thrilled over the fact that nobody watched it. So interestingly, later in the Collider interview, Leslye provided more evidence to this theory. Lovett commented, I think that's what makes villains so compelling because there is that little piece of every writer in the villains kind of pushing an idea that they've harbored within them. What? What? A little piece of every writer in the villains pushing an idea they've harbored? So does that mean that like George Lucas like really wanted to blow up a planet when he wrote A New Hope? This is the dumbest thing you've said. These people are completely unbalanced. They're completely evil at the root of themselves, and they want to just make it's like the Joker in the Dark Knight. They just want to prove that the world is as ugly as they are. She goes, the villain is a great proxy for getting those feelings out. That's and of course she's gonna agree. Absolutely. I really put myself in the protagonist because you're not a protagonist. I think the protagonist has to be the protagonist. You are an antagonist in life, Leslye. They might have a sprinkling of me, certainly Osha and May, the family conflict, switching of sides, being really certain that you know one thing. The betrayal of the father, the rejection of the fraternal protectionism. Look at that phrase. It just drips with arrogance. And saying, I am now my own person. That stuff definitely relates with me, but with the stranger is my shadow self for sure. Okay, so the murderer who kills like a dozen Jedi throughout the course of this show, that's you. Okay, Leslye. In a previous interview with Collider, she also revealed that Khmer is an avatar for her. She said, so she was asked, aside from the obvious allusions to other ships, are there any other enemies to lovers' dynamics that informed the decision you were making as you were playing with these two characters? And she replied, there are so many. I'm not going to name any, but like there are so many. But I'm going to say no because it was really working from muscle memory. I didn't want to quote something else. I didn't want to just click and the kind of stuff I wrote when I was in high school. I love these characters. Nobody wants to ship these characters more than I do. I love them so much. I love a stranger. There's always a character that's an avatar for me that I really, really love. In Russian Doll, it was Charlie's character, Alan. The stranger's obviously a badass. No, he's a murderer. He's a freaking murderer. But I just mean much more than his character. I'm not going to go around doing fantastic lightsaber battles and murdering people and being an all-around badass. I like how she talks about murdering people and being an all-around badass in like the same sentence. Like murdering people is a good thing. That's what she's trying to say here. That's Leslye Headland, folks. But I would say that what he talks about in this episode and when he talks about in episode 5 is something I really dug down. Then Osha's inner conflict fits with his ideology, and they're on opposite ends of the spectrum, just like she and her sister started at the beginning of the show. She's so arrogant and so up her own ass. It is insane to me just how egocentric this woman is. The way she talks about this drivel that she put down on the page as if it's Starry Night by Van Gogh. I literally can't spend another second talking about this tonight. I'm so done. This woman is an abysmal failure. This show was an abysmal failure. And let's all just hope that she never gets her way and gets her second season. Instead of putting some hippie holistic therapist kid through college like she should be, Leslye is subjecting all of us to her public airing of a family drama. And we're not done talking about this. She has said so much wacky crap in the last week about crazy symbolism in these episodes that we've barely scratched the surface of her perverted and disturbed mind. Here's a hint at what's coming. Remember the joke we made about lightsabers in one of our reviews about what they look like? Leslye thinks so too. But anyway, thanks for tuning in, and I hope you'll stop in for Toonie Talk TV every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's a great opportunity to interact with me and my guests and make your voices heard as part of the Toonitown community. There's no show this week as I'm away on vacation, but we will be back on August the 1st. Also, please subscribe to our pro wrestling channel, Toonitown Wrestling, and That Game Place, the That Park Place gaming channel, where I'm a regular host with Culture Casino, Spencer Bacouli from Bounding into Comics, Nolan Thunder, Jonas J. Campbell, Stone Loki, Space Dave 2000, and more. If you liked what you saw here today, please like, share, and subscribe. Click the bell icon to get notified of new videos as they drop. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm and helps the channel out. And let me know what you think of Leslye Headland's fragile mental state in the comments below. From all of us here at the Toonitown channels, I'm Marvin the Movie Monster. Now get out of here!